Oh, yes, just drinking my green smoothie. Oh, apparently we're live already.
Are we?
It says meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. Oh, yes, just drinking my green smoothie.
Yep, we're live. Just wait for a few people.
Meeting is now streaming live on YouTube.
This repeats our voice because there's slight delay, isn't there?
I think so. Yeah. I normally get my other half to do all my stuff because, I'm the type of girl that has trouble turning the TV on if the remote is too confusing.
Yeah. Oh, we've got around 28 people. All right, that's it. Great. We have got people jumping on. Hey, everybody. Just don't make me jealous, Anna. This the weather here in the UK is actually today wasn't so bad. It's been really drizzly and cold and raining and there you are in the sunshine.
Well, just so you don't get too jealous, it is the rainy season here. So sometimes it rains for like 3 days completely in a row. So that kind of gets a bit crap. And it's really funny because if I'm watching something on Netflix that's based in the UK, I get really, really homesick because, there's nowhere else on the planet like the UK. There's obviously crazy things going on, but the actual beauty of the country is quite astonishing, really.
Oh, bless. I don't. Can somebody write in the chat to see if you can hear and hear us properly and that we're live, because it is a Mercury retrograde, everyone, and I'm aware that I've experienced a few technical issues all day today. So I'm not getting anyone in the public chat. Usually people are always they speak straight away. So anyway, it's saying that we've got quite a few people on, so I will just rely on the fact that people can see. But if you can make some comments in the comment section so we know that we're not just talking to ourselves. I mean, this is going to be kept on my YouTube anyway, so people can watch it again after. But Anna, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate this because you and I have been speaking for quite some time. Thank the lovely Mark Atwood for introducing us. And we've got a similar journey when it comes to our health. And I know I've just recently started being open about my condition that I don't own. It's a dis-ease that I don't own, and I've been fighting fibromyalgia for the last 5 years. And the reason why I find it difficult to talk about, I think I rephrase that. It's more a question of I don't want to own the condition, and I don't want to keep drawing attention to it, because for the last 4 or 5 years, that's all I could think about was this widespread body pain everywhere, and it was driving me crazy. I mean, it took so long to diagnose, and it's a funny condition because it's like the invisible illness. And again, it's all going into that kind of like, I don't ever want it to be like victim mode or I'm just constantly complaining. But if anyone knows anything about fibromyalgia, the fatigue is horrendous. And it's kind of like a catch-22, it's just like you do something and you're like all in great spirits, but you never know how it's going to attack you on a daily basis. So I educated myself. I've been a vegetarian my whole life, but I cut all dairy out about 10 years ago. And when I say like it's cow's milk, I completely cut out. And I made all the necessary changes to my diet. However, I noticed if I ever had gluten or a little bit of dairy and sugar, the pain would be exacerbated quite severely. So it would ignite what's known to be a fibro flare. And so I've battled with this sort of yo-yo up and down, like, not understanding it at the start, then educating myself and learning like what works, what doesn't. The winter is really, it's arduous for me, especially now. And it can just onset a flare, like just a change in the weather, even though I'm making the dietary changes. However, going back to what I said right at the start, I don't want to own the condition, because any condition or illness is a combination. It's a collective of mind and the body. So, and sort of stored emotions and things that we don't even realize that are exacerbating the condition and making it worse. So there's a whole host of things that I do on a daily basis. And I find that yoga, meditation, and my mental attitude really, really helps. And then it's like, you know, dealing with the day-to-day fatigue, which I'm brain fog, the memory is a bit of an issue. So you know, doing these shows that I do, it creates so much anxiety sometimes, because it's like, oh my God, I'm trying to catch a thought. You know, you lose your train of thought so easily. And for a while that made me miserable, because it kind of robs you of your livelihood, you know, your day-to-day things that you want to do. Just the thought of going outside would cripple me. And why didn't I want to speak about it? And why have I done it now? Well, I'm not ashamed of it. I think there would have been an element of being like, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. And I can fight it on my own. I don't need anything. I don't need to tell anybody anything. But the thing is, when I've been speaking to it about people, and this is why I wanted to everyone to hear about your story, because you never know who you're helping. And I've learned that in this journey with everything that I'm doing on my social media with this great global awakening, that just by sharing a few posts, you know, at the start, how I was helping to plant seeds in this awakening journey. So slowly, I thought, right, I'm going to speak about the fiber. And it was Mark who introduced me to a few things, and he's just holistic stuff, which, you know, I've added to my day-to-day you know, regime of like vitamins and minerals. So yeah, you know, thank you for coming on. And I'd like to my viewers, we've got quite a few people. Oh great, we've got a few more people on to really hear your journey and how it all started for you, what happened. And yeah,
so we share a few similarities there with the constant fatigue and tiredness and just brain fog and knowing that something is really wrong. And when you grow up, no one ever tells you that being vulnerable and sharing things is actually a good thing. We're always taught to kind of keep it hidden, and that makes it worse. And with what you were saying before about, we have to be very careful that we don't program ourselves. And I did that for my whole life by constantly saying to myself, I am sick, I am not well, my mental state is crazy. Like and I was at the time, but I didn't tell myself that I could heal. And I didn't understand that we do have a very powerful healing mechanism in ourselves, which of course comes from self-love and doing things that is actually beneficial for us. But my journey goes back for as long as I can remember. I never felt well. I was always the child that wanted to sleep. And at school as a teenager, it was very difficult for me to get out of bed. I wouldn't sleep very well. I'd have insomnia. And I can remember many nights tossing and turning because, and I didn't realize this till later in life, but you actually need a lot of mitochondrial energy to sleep, which doesn't in a way makes sense, because we think, well, if you're tired, you're just automatically going to fall asleep. But there are so many people with insomnia today, and they don't understand what's wrong, but it's all stress based. And I grew up in a very stressful environment where I really didn't have a happy childhood. I was the sort of child that was always fighting with my parents, always crying, always slamming the door. And yeah, I had really, really severe suicidal tendencies from such a young age. And I didn't understand what was wrong. I couldn't tell my parents or get them to understand, because whenever I acted in a certain way, they would just tell me to go away and stop being dramatic. And I was too sensitive. And it was just an absolute shit show, to put it lightly, a roller coaster of emotions. And yeah, as time went by, I just got worse and worse and worse. And yeah, my suicidal thoughts started when I was 12. And
I think, sorry to interject you, sweetheart, but this just wanted to raise a point what you said about being told that you're too sensitive. And I think that's a really important thing to address, because we have been conditioned to be too much of this, too little of that, too less of this, and constantly criticized and not really understanding why, and it just demising and minimizing and not validating. I remember the same sort of thing happened as well to me, but it's that minimization of your thoughts, your feelings, that actually exacerbate the situation and that condition, and it just festers internally, doesn't it?
Yep. And we never get told, when you're in an environment where your parents can't really see you and validate you, you don't understand what's going on. And I felt like I couldn't get help from anyone, and I couldn't tell anyone how severe my mental illness was, because I was so paranoid that if I admitted the thoughts that I had, that they'd put me in a mental hospital. So it was all this internal anguish that was just so severe. And it's so weird now looking back and remembering how I was, because I feel like it's another lifetime. It was another person.
I know, you've done really well.
Oh, it's so surreal. And obviously I'll be able to sort of share about what happened to get me to this place of living a normal life now. And I don't think I'll ever be the type that can go and run a marathon, because the damage done to my health through stress and toxicity was done at a really early age. I just don't know if I'll ever be able to completely heal it all, but to, as I said, be able to live a normal life and to do some of the things I've done is quite extraordinary. And what I've learned is being sensitive is actually a gift.
Absolutely.
Those that are sensitive have empathy. And when you have empathy, you actually want to help others. And if you see someone in pain or upset, or you can try and help them, you'll do it. And some people who have a really fantastic life, they don't know what it's like to have trauma. They're really happy in their own world. And you know what? That's great. I wouldn't wish it upon them to be any different. But are they going to go out and really make an effort to make a difference in the world? Possibly not. So I went from a place of being very bitter and very angry, and really I had a massive chip on my shoulder that it was my parents' fault and this person's fault and poor me and this and that. And now I've gotten to a place where I'm like, wow, I think I chose all of this.
Yeah, we do.
Actually really glad that every single thing happened to me. And I had some horrific things happen through the years, and I'm so glad that, I can't feel that pain anymore, because it used to be so bad. But what I learned through knowing that I wasn't alone, because once I started to share how I felt, so many other people said they share the same health problems, and that we're all helping each other, and you learn. And we're not really learning much from the medical environment. My dad is actually a doctor. So growing up, whenever I presented with some kind of a health problem, give me a drug. And, in his best interest, he didn't realize that these things have toxic ingredients, synthetic chemicals, and even, E numbers that you shouldn't really give to kids.
Yeah. Every ill, there's a pill.
Mm-hmm. And when I mapped out my sort of history with what happened to me, so I think I had a fairly normal birth, although mum tells me that they used forceps to get me out, and I don't know if that's a good thing. It's probably not. And then I was only breastfed for 6 weeks, and then mum tells me that she used to give me Ribena and tea when I was like a really young baby.
I didn't know that.
I mean, geez, like Ribena is like crack
full of sugar.
Like full of sugar, exactly.
Like giving cocaine to a child.
Yep. And then she said I had loads of like sore throats, and I had loads of antibiotics. Of course, I had vaccines back then, which were nothing compared to the amount that kids get today.
Yeah.
But was still too many. And I used to get these strange rashes that would appear on my elbows and my knees, and my dad would think that was fascinating and take photos and wonder what had happened to that. But now I look back and I think, I wonder if it's from any recent medications that I had, or, you know, possibly recent vaccinations, because the skin always shows us that things aren't right in the body. But it wasn't until I was 25 that things started to really progress very badly for me in a short space of time. And the catalyst for that was having a flu injection.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yep, that my dad gave to me. And I got the flu about 2 weeks later and had a massive swollen lump on my arm. So I just thought, oh, I don't want that ever again. It clearly doesn't work. And when I got better from the flu, I didn't think about it. I didn't look into it. I just thought, I'm not going to have one of those. They clearly don't work. And then in 2006, we moved to the UK because, we wanted to experience different lifestyle from being in Australia. And by the end of 2006, I was not in a good way at all. Physically and mentally, it was the worst I'd ever been. And brain fog, oh my goodness, it was absolutely debilitating. And like what you said before, when you had it, I really preferred not to go anywhere because my anxiety was so bad, and speaking to people became a real issue.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't handle all the noise. It's just, say if we went to a pub, it was just it was strange. It was almost like I was having this weird out of body experience. And now I've connected some dots. My auditory processes couldn't handle all of these things. It was like information overload.
Sensory, you become very sensitive to sensory. Yeah,
and probably I had a bit of I don't know, maybe a slight experience of what autism would be like, where they can't handle so much noise and you feel weird. So that was the start of me going, things are not right. And I couldn't remember what I was saying. I'd start a sentence or speak to someone, and then halfway through I'd just say, oh, what was I saying? And it happened all the time. And people that I met for the first time, I could tell they were just thinking, you're a moron, like you don't know what you're talking about. Are you drunk? And I wasn't. It just was a strange situation to be in. And then, I just had the worst fatigue where I couldn't even walk up the stairs. Well, no, I wasn't even 30. It was like 26. And whenever I had to do some housework, it would take so much effort. So I was constantly lying on the couch, lying on the bed. When we used to go sightseeing, like my poor husband, thank God things are better now, but when I was really, really ill, we hardly went anywhere.
Because it affects every area of your life, right? It completely debilitates you, and like the decisions that you make. So like you can be all geared up and going somewhere, and then last minute you're like, I don't want to go. And a lot of the times it depends. I've speak to a few people who have like various autoimmune conditions, thyroid, fibromyalgia, various of similar sort of family conditions, and the sort of general theme is the fatigue and the brain fog and not wanting to go out. And you end up making excuses all the time. You're like letting people down at the last minute when you don't want to, and you're robbed of your sort of energy because you want to go out and you want to be all fun and, enjoy yourself. But you're kind of sat there thinking so many things, that the overstimulus of noise, people and energy, and it just becomes a nightmare. And if you don't attend to this, it does become very, very overwhelming, but you learn coping mechanisms, and to cope, like you were just saying, going out, you end up like not just wanting to go out full stop.
Yeah. There's so many times that we'd be invited somewhere, and at the last minute, I'd say to my husband, this is before we had kids.
I think I'm being sorry to interrupt you again. I think we're being shadow banned as well on the live. So thank you for everybody that is just messaging quickly on the chat now. I really appreciate that, guys. You're right. Mark Anthony is saying that we're being shadow banned, because I saw this on a few lives yesterday. I just couldn't get on the I couldn't get on the chat. So it's either they're being shadow banned, or we're being shadow banned, or there is a genuine technical problem during Mercury retrograde. But sorry.
Wow. So is it possible because I mentioned the V word?
Yeah, we'll just stick to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm also saying all things health and well-being, so they can't.
And that's another thing that Facebook are going to start to crack down on, is natural health information, which is just insane that they're doing that. Where was I can't remember.
Sorry about going out. We were
So I didn't get the best sleep last night, so that has such an effect on your memory as well. And I had 10 years of really chronic insomnia when I was very ill, and that makes you crazy. So if you've got what I now know is toxic poisoning from the flu thing that I had, then your memory is just terrible and you can't sleep. So it took me a while to kind of piece everything together. And quite a few times in my life, I didn't think I'd ever survive, because my depression was so bad that I was quite paranoid with the way I used to think.
Yeah.
And my partner, I'd have very aggressive arguments that would just come from nowhere. And he would say something normal that I would just make into a big deal and blow up. And it was just craziness. And there's nothing more scary than knowing that your mental state is really bad, especially when you don't think you can get better. And when I say we, my husband spent thousands of pounds on trying to get me well. And we saw a top doctor in Harley Street who made me, spend about £3,000 on all these specialized tests. And she came back with the results and everything was a mess. All the fat profile in my body was a mess, my adrenals, my thyroid, it was everything I knew that was wrong with me. But the solutions that she gave me were awful. She believes that when you have poor adrenals, that you need to be given steroids. So she gave me steroids to take. It was like being on drugs. And I had them when I got married. So there's pictures of me at our wedding with my head on the table, feeling ill, and I couldn't even eat our wedding cake. So that was awful. But my turning point came when I started looking into what was in this flu, we'll call it a V, and that was the light bulb moment for me, where I thought, because no one ever told me about the ingredients of what was in them. And then a friend on Facebook alerted me to the fact that it's got mercury in it.
Yep.
Call it mercury, but it's thimerosal.
Yeah.
And when I learned about that, I was like, oh my God. Because when you look at the list of mercury poisoning, it's exactly what I had.
Yeah.
Exactly what I had. Yeah.
Mercury and aluminium. I mean, sorry, just to hold your train of thought there. But, the amalgams that we have in our teeth. I mean, I've only got one, but one of my healers actually said to me, she goes, "Get rid of that straight away from a spiritual point of view as well," because these chemicals, it's been so designed cleverly in such a sadistic way. All the things that they do to us and how they attack us at every level, and an attack on our consciousness. So some of these entry points into our body, like under our armpits and, areas, they've designed products so that they will actually make us sick eventually. It's like a slow poison. So you got aluminium in deodorants, and people, just because the wording of the product says no alcohol or no parabens or no sulfites, aluminium is so horrendous, and it has sorts of horrible effects on your mental health, cognitive function, and just general overall well-being.
Yep.
And it's such a roller coaster of emotions. But, you know, it's like with my mum at the moment, I'm helping her heal with her thyroid, but there's just a culmination of so many conditions that's intertwined in one. And doctors treat you when you're sat there for 6 minutes and you're expected to trust this person who doesn't even look at you when you're talking, and they're just ready to prescribe you a pill. And it just becomes so laborious because you know, you have this, you're going round and round in circles, your energy is depleted on a day-to-day basis, completely like traumatized from just feeling crap all the time. And, you know, it feels like a never-ending journey. And I do battle with it still. I mean, I'm a lot better. I'm so much more better. And on this journey, speaking in public, sometimes the anxiety would cripple me in itself because of the pain and disorientation, the brain fog. I mean, I used to get told all the time, she interrupts too much, or she forgets, or she doesn't get to the point, and all of that. I can withstand all of that, and it doesn't bother me. Excuse me. But what would upset me would be forgetting what I would want to say. So that's one of the main things, right? And the memory, because we want to be our exuberant self, our vibrant self, and full of joy and smiling all the time. And that's our natural default, you know, way of being. And we're just layered and layered and layered with so much nonsense just from birth. So you know, it's so important. And now, especially in this moment in time in history to mankind, we are privy to so much information, yet we've become so, you know, not so dependent. I think the awareness now is just growing and growing, but still a lot of people that I speak to within my generation and friends, they're still heavily reliant on the medical fraternity. And you know, all that stuff, holistic stuff's mumbo jumbo, and it's just rubbish, and you know, you're not taken seriously. And that's half the battle, because you're trying to understand what's going on with yourself internally, within your environment. But this all serves a purpose, Anna, wouldn't you agree? It serves a purpose because it serves a purpose for you to step up to your authenticity, to your own empowerment, and everything starts within and here. And you said something very important early, that now when you reflect back, it's kind of like we create this. And I know it's sometimes difficult to kind of understand that, but a lot of our ailments, our conditions are self-created. We don't understand how and why. There's obviously other consequences, spiritual consequences, as well as our diet and our thinking. You see a lot of people who are really, really healthy, eat well, exercise. Why do they get cancer? What is the emotional connection to the dis-ease of your body? So, you know, these are things that you are constantly educating yourself on. I mean, you look at Joe Dispenza, he healed himself from a car accident where he was told he could never walk. It's the power of the mind. I mean, he broke his back. I couldn't eat a cucumber or a carrot at that moment to try and get himself to walk again. But it's a combination of everything. So we have to look at things holistically. I can't just say I'm going to have one product or just exercise or do something. It's everything together. So yes. So sorry.
People, I mean, when I started looking into all of this with the toxicity, that it was really overwhelming, because when you learn about one thing, it takes you to another thing. And then, I mean, I had a dictionary for toxic cosmetic ingredients, because I first started looking into it when I was a beauty therapist years ago. That was the first job I had when I left school. And I remember doing an Aveda course. It was only a day course, and their range is fairly natural. Back then it was widely known as being quite natural, and it's not perfect, but it was where I started to learn about chemicals that they use in beauty products. I couldn't believe what they were saying, that some of the ingredients were used as industrial cleaners to clean the floors. And I was like, Jesus Christ. But later on, when I got so ill and then started to look into why I was so ill, and I started writing this book, one of the books I used as a reference was this thick. And this was all the toxic ingredients found in beauty products. It was just insane. So if you buy perfumes, just to show you how insane some of these products can be, if you go into a beauty store like Debenhams or something and you buy a perfume, it may have up to 250 different toxic chemicals in it. So you think about that, if you're spraying it around your lymph glands there, putting it in, it's not only going to give you headaches, it can give you skin discoloration. If you use that every day, what's that doing? And you put it in and again and again and again.
And your lymph nodes here, you've got them here. And what are we kind of like, all the advertisements showing us what to do? Again, it's this programming, isn't it? You know, the whole thing's been designed to actually keep us ill, even for things like perfume. Aloise, I saw something, this friend of mine, Aloise, she's from the Dharma Life podcast, and I saw a really good clip of her. She's done a live where she's actually spraying perfume onto just some plants outside in her garden. Within minutes, you just see what happened. And it just shows how toxic it is. Just a little bit on a bit of grass, you know. I was like, you murderer. How can you do that to a plant?
There was a trend going around that I saw on Instagram where parents were buying perfumes for babies and toddlers, and it wasn't natural. Loads of celebrities use that, and you just think, Jesus. Because really, when you think about it, it should be common sense to question.
It should be, Anna.
What things are made with.
Yeah.
But really, the average person has been told things like, oh, if it wasn't safe, the government wouldn't allow it. But when you start looking into all of this, you quickly realize that the industry regulates itself. And
by the wrong people.
That's never been ethical.
No.
Same with the pharmaceutical companies. They're the ones that do the trials with their own money, of course, and then they submit it to the FDA, and there's no independent body that will look at these things. And it's horrific knowing what I know now with the drug industry. You should see how many drugs have been recalled but were once passed as safe and have been given to millions of people. Something that I just saw recently is a drug called Zantac, which is used for like heartburn. And it contains a lot of aluminium in it, really high levels. And when that goes in your gut, it's terrible because the body doesn't.
So acidic.
Well, yep. And now I'm getting emails through saying that people can now sue Zantac because of the causation of cancer. So it's likely to be recalled soon. But they can put a drug on the market, millions of people use it, billions of dollars are made, and then 15, 20 years later, they come out and say, oh, actually, it's poisonous, it's killing people. Merck, Pfizer, all of these top companies that have many medications, as Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says, they're all convicted felons. They've all been tried for fraud. And when you look into the things that they've done, it's absolutely chilling. And the worst part is those companies are still going very strong today. And of course, we know now several of those are making the COVID-19 you-know-whats. So it's a really sick situation. And
just want to stop you there, Anna. Sorry, we're getting loads and loads of questions. So I just want to acknowledge everybody that's watching, first of all. So thank you. It seems like, again, we were shadow banned, but a lot more people have jumped in because there was only like 20, 30 people showing on my screen, but we've got quite a lot more now. And there are some questions which I will go through, everyone. So, someone called Raj is asking, can we talk about cannabis? Is it good? Does it affect the ascension spiritually? So we'll speak a little bit about CBD, I think, and it's helping us in all these issues. Hi, Suzanne. Hi, Richard, Christopher, all of you. Thank you so much for joining on. So, yeah, I just like to acknowledge people who come on live.
It's really...
I don't do live. Somebody's just said it's nice to see me go live. I actually don't do very many lives. The ones that I've done have been on other people's channels, or if I've done like a round table with Charlie Freak. I don't know why I don't do lives, but anyway, it's great to do this, because these are conversations that I really value and really appreciate, because again, finding it difficult to speak about it because of disowning it and mentally making that decision that I am going to get through this also was a little bit of battle within myself, like showing myself, thinking that was weakness, because the older I was getting, it was just like, it was getting really, really bad. And it was so mentally debilitating inside and psychologically traumatizing, because it just affects the quality of your life and everything you do. And while I'm an extroverted introvert, I love my socializing and all of that, but I need to sort of re-energize, recalibrate, because I have an empathic nature, so I can easily consume energy very easily outside. This is the sensitivity, and this is why I feel overwhelmed, like yourself, with outside stimulus, noise, smell, sense of smell, very, very strong sense of smell, flickering lights, and the ability to focus, because the pain is there. See, fibromyalgia is a central nervous system condition. Did I have it from birth? Possibly. I was 2.5 months premature. Just short of 2.5, my mum said. So I knew there was a few things missing, and that explains it. But I was only like just short of 4 pounds when I was born. So could that have... Yeah, very small. My mum said, like, my hand size are the same. So she says, you were just the size of my palm. And I was like, oh, wow. And I straight away was put into an incubator. So like fighting for my life straight away when I was born. And you kind of draw upon all of these things from birth to actually realize, where did you get to where you are now? So in like addressing all of this from its root, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, your time of birth, all of that plays a massive role in our script.
Yep. And there are 3 things I can say about that. And one would be, so what I've learned is, with the toxicity that humans experience, and no one is immune to this, no one has perfectly healthy blood and no chemicals in their body. But when our parents have them in their body, and obviously detoxing is not a thing they knew about, they pass them on to us.
Absolutely.
And loads of studies show that when you have a baby, they're being born with at least, I think it's between 200 and 280 industrial chemicals.
Yeah.
And they know this because they've found it in their umbilical cord. And that was really disturbing to me when I discovered that. And it's not just one study, many other studies have backed up those findings. But, our mother's placenta is supposed to filter them out. And it's not doing that anymore, because their bodies are just completely full of that. So that's one aspect of it. And then the second one is mitochondrial health is a really big thing. And so that, I don't know if people out there know what mitochondria is.
Explain that to us a bit.
Yeah, so it's when all of our cells have what is called the mitochondria in it, and their job is to power the health of the cells. And you can damage the mitochondria very easily. And one of those is through toxicity. So all of these things can be a domino effect. And if you have parents who both have poor quality of mitochondria, then that's doubly worse for you. And another thing that's happening that is apparently affecting up to 50% of the population is what they call a methylation issue. And it's nicknamed the MTHFR, and it's a gene mutation that, again, we get it passed on from our parents. You can get a certain type of that from one parent, and if you get both of them passing it on, then that leads to a more severe form of that. and that will affect how you detox. So someone like me, even though now I know good things to take to help me detox, which we'll speak about later on, if I don't continue to use those things, I can quickly get toxic again because trouble with my kidneys. And kidney damage is very easy to do when you've been given injections with aluminum or when you've been eating loads of pesticides your whole life. So yeah, I am nowhere near like perfectly healthy, and yeah, my sort of organs still need a lot of support, which I get from obviously eating as best I can with my diet. But if I slip up, and over here in Costa Rica, the food is amazing.
Yeah.
I get inflammation in my stomach, and all the stress I went through. And yeah, growing up eating absolute rubbish, because even though my dad was a doctor, he has no knowledge on diet. My mum was a shopaholic. I used to go to school. I used to go to boarding school, and she and my friends thought it was awesome because I'd always turn up with like shopping bags full of like Doritos and muffins in plastic, just absolute shit that they end up eating. And that's all I ate, was just absolute rubbish. And no wonder my mental state was such a mess. So all these things you just don't, no one's telling you when you're young, because our parents don't know. Because again, the media don't tell us. Of course it's happening now about healthy food, it's slowly getting out there, but I don't know if people out there remember a very famous book called Food is Better Medicine Than Drugs, from a doctor called Dr. Patrick Holford, who's quite famous now. When he published that book, the pharmaceutical industry went after him big time. The Times and all of the main newspapers called him a quack and went through hell. And luckily it didn't destroy his career. He's still online and writing books and being really vocal, but it was, you know, they send out attack dogs, is what I call them.
Absolutely. The medical profession has completely annihilated people's thinking as well over time. It's only now with this scandemic that we're going through that it's been brought to people's attention to actually look at things and think, actually, is this right? And you know, people aren't dying on the streets. I mean, on the contrary to what people are saying, what the news is telling us, what the media is telling us about this, the CV. I do think they're shadow banning us because it's because we've put the health subject in, so we'll just abbreviate the words. So people are becoming a little bit more aware in this last year than ever. That's not saying that everyone's ignorant. I get that. But what I experienced initially over the last 10 years when I had my health sort of awakening, because I had no knowledge. I was no knowledge about diet. Growing up a vegetarian in an Indian household where there's overcooked like vegetables, not necessarily using a lot of oil, but, you know, we're having chapatis, white rice, dals. Essentially, it's how you cook everything. That's what the important thing is. Yeah. And then the vegetables that you use. So, you know, overdose with the pesticides, herbicides, and all the crap that's in it. So, you know, you're not really getting any nutrition, even the healthy foods. So, okay, luckily I haven't grown up on a diet of red meat or any kind of meat, tried it literally in dribs and drabs. And I just realized sort of from a spiritual plane, meat was something that I never wanted to eat. You know, my dad tried to make me eat chicken when I was about 6, and I would come home crying to my mum saying, "You made me eat chicken." I just was a very, very gentle little thing when it came to animals. I love animals. So I'm fortunate that I didn't have that, but there was a lot of sugar in my diet. So, and that sugar affects your concentration, your focus. And of course, if we have had the, you know, from a young age, there's a correlation between autism, ADHD,
definitely.
And a lot of children now I'm seeing are having focus issues. This is all supported. This whole cycle has been designed for this. So that people become numb to actually question things. So why don't we question things? They're so easily indoctrinated because of this psychological makeup that's been designed to subliminally program the masses. So let's just take the media. It operates at a frequency. Let's take the academia fraternity. It's designed so that it gives this kind of pseudo intelligence superiority where we are programmed to believe the experts, and these experts are all from the same people that lead you to believe that and trust them, that what they're saying is that they've got your best interest at heart. And it's supporting the pharmaceutical industry. It's all designed really, really well. So therefore, that when you have these conversations at grassroots level with your family or your friends, the immediate response is, but did a doctor say it? But did a doctor say it? It's all in your head. And that is damaging. And again, that's been thought out as well, because then it leads you to feeling that there's something wrong. So then what do? You go back to the doctors and say, right, well, I've got a mental illness. The best thing I've never done is take any kind of antidepressants or anything. Something within my soul has always rejected synthetic drugs. And I never, ever, it was just my spiritual resolve from a young age to not lean on any medication. I didn't know why. It was only until I worked with some naturopaths back in 2012 where I really learned a lot. And, the benefits of doing colonics and alkalizing the body, which is something that's really kind of reversed so many things. But when I got fibromyalgia, it was like, first of all, I couldn't even pronounce it. It was like fibromyalgia. And actually I sent an mail shot the other day saying I was excited to speak to you. I mentioned your name, and I'm going to speak about the fibromyalgia, not from a place of, oh, poor me, but I do know that a lot of people who have followed me and said that they've got fibro, and I really wanted to say, yeah, me too. And you know what? I'll say it now openly, publicly, that I don't have or own any condition. I'm working to get rid of it. Yeah. Obviously, sometimes it does flare up and I'm very aware of it and I love it and I want to heal it. So psychologically, I'm there trying to get to how is it that it's flaring, and becoming into that awareness, not giving it energy so it exacerbates, but learning how to nurture, treat it, and then neutralize it so it goes. So I think you said that somewhere along the lines, did it get so bad with you and your journey that it's completely irreversible, or it's just really managed well? I mean, and what have you been doing, like using like products, vitamins and diet? If you can just share a bit of that with us, Anna.
Well, the two main things that were life-changing for me is, one was the liquid zeolite. Lots of people out there might have seen me speaking about this before. I think you've got a bottle of it there.
Yeah, it was Mark who introduced me to it about 8 weeks ago. And he goes, look, just try this. And then he said some other stuff as well, like with water, and then some other like hemp products as well. The hemp was really good for like relaxing. I haven't tried any of that yet. But yeah, I'm on my, here it is.
I love that. So I got into that because of the mercury poisoning. And once I learned about what that was and what it did, I, of course, wanted it out, because it's scary when you've got that in your brain and your stomach and everywhere. And a friend on Facebook had many fillings in her mouth that contain mercury. I think average fillings contain over 50% of mercury. And when I did the research in my book, it's really frightening that if people have quite a few fillings in their mouth, when they chew and even when they speak, it's off-gassing mercury. And there's a guy who's written a book, I think his name's Hal Huggins, who was famous for bringing this topic into the mainstream about toxic dentistry. And he tested, I think, a professor that he was interviewing who was saying something about mercury not being a problem, and he tested him with this special machine that could read the gas that was coming off, and it just was off the charts. So this man in his, I think, 70s, was every time he spoke or he was chewing, it was releasing all this stuff. And for people who don't know about mercury, it's the second most toxic metal to humans on the planet.
Yeah.
And the research behind it is really scary. But if you Google it, they'll tell you that it's fine. There's nothing to worry about, that there's more mercury in fish, even though now they're saying you can get mercury poisoning from having too much tuna. But one of the most chilling things I've seen, you can actually find it on YouTube. There's a video called, I think it's either Smoking Gun or it's probably Smoking Teeth. And it is showing the nerves in the brain when they get injected with some mercury, just completely disintegrates. It's literally destroying your brain, which is why I had the terrible memory problems, because your brain is like a computer. If the microchip in it is not working, of course your brain's not going to be thinking properly. So the zeolite was something I took, and it took me a while to take my friend's advice, because by then I was just broken with trying things. I'd tried so many things that everyone had said, made them feel amazing and it's going to cure me. And that doctor I saw in Harley Street said she'd cure me and I'd be 100% better.
The amount of money I've spent on so many people.
Yep. Yes, it's awful because
they don't talk about sorry to interrupt. It's so important what you're saying about the mercury, and I just want to reinforce that, because one of the things from when I got diagnosed fibro and the things that I was like researching and then going on these diets, the celery diet, the Anthony Williams one, and all sorts of stuff, which talks about the Epstein-Barr virus and what actually it starts from the liver, really, or toxicity starts from the liver. But that's true as well, definitely. But again, I look at everything holistically and collectively. Like, it's so much, like our body has been overwhelmed. And if we don't understand that even things like our washing up liquid and our clothes that we wear, that all carry these chemicals. God, for the life of me, can't remember all these long words, but they are such, like, I started studying all the things that they have in makeup, in the products that we use. It's mass deception with the marketing. And so it's just deceiving us to believing that, like, look at the whole thing with veganism, and it's just so defunct of nutrition, that really the main nutrition that we're going to get is from fruit, vegetables, and then replenishing our body with minerals and vitamins, because the vegetables, unless you're buying 100% organic, and how organic is our vegetables and fruit from the supermarket? Like, I buy all my stuff, I go to Waitrose and get all the organic stuff, and I don't have the expense of buying expensive meats and stuff, so that's not really an issue. But for me, it's like, that is something I won't compromise on, is the good quality food, because it does make a difference. And then, of course, water is really, really important. And I found a bit of an issue with this filter that we got put in our house, thinking it was good, but I don't think it's good. And it's actually it started hurting my joints a lot more, especially in the winter. So now I've switched back to the mineral. I'm just waiting for this ionized water system to come through. Again, distilled water, there's this misconception about that, because it depletes the water system of the essential minerals. So again, everything, a body needs minerals. This, going back to the zeolite, I've used that. Now, I think that was the missing link, because I use colloidal silver. And I'd like you to explain it a little bit better than I can. I use a good, like, microbiome for the gut, and ionized. I use this one if anyone wants.
Yes, silver's amazing. It's a really powerful.
I use that, and then I use this colloidal silver. So people that this is great. When I put the email out, I bless, people are just beautiful, aren't they? They're so, I have to say, everyone that's watching, the people that write into me and send me messages, you guys are just beautiful, beautiful souls, sending me so much love. And it's a bit overwhelming sometimes that everyone wants to reach out and be positive, and collectively, that's what it's about, right? This unity consciousness, how we're going to ascend spiritually, how we're going to evolve and empower each other in that sense of unity. And collectively, I keep saying that word, but it's together we are stronger. And of course, what we are doing internally with our work into, like, spiritually and with our diet, etc. So we make that conscious decision that all is well and we are well. We affirm that. We affirm that we are well every single day. So, we, going back to the zeolite, it's been so when was it? So I say just short of 8 weeks that I've
Yep.
got about it. So it was the one that I did that chat with Eddie. Now, a very important thing as well is because we're talking about this, I don't want to recommend anything that I'm not trying. So I just want that kind of like, it's really important to me because I've tried a lot of things. Yeah. I've spent so much money over the years. And I think it's so important, like, to try this stuff. So like this gut thing that I've been trying for like it's a month now, it's brilliant. I love it. And I love it. And then the colloidal silver I've been using for a while. And then, yeah, now the zeolite 8 weeks in. So zeolite, though, is specific, right? So if you could just kind of go into a bit more detail about how zeolite, I mean, everything else is great, but why zeolite for the heavy metal toxins, which is so important for us now to like get rid of.
It's an amazing natural mineral. And when I found out about it, because before I took it, I wasn't so ill. I wasn't really interested in knowing what it did. I just was trusting my friend. But then when it worked so quickly, within 2 weeks, my brain fog cleared up. And I also noticed a massive improvement I used to have a very heavy feeling body where when I walked, I felt like I had to put in extra effort to walk because my limbs felt heavy. And I'm sure you can probably understand what that feels like, which comes from obviously, all body fatigue, but it is definitely linked to toxins in your body. So zeolite is a natural mineral. The scientific name is clinotoptolite. And what is so magical about it is that underneath microscope, it looks like a cage. And the cage has a negative charge. And this is what's so amazing about it. Toxins such as heavy metals, plastics, environmental pollutants, things like glyphosate, all have a positive charge.
Killer.
Oh my God, it's absolutely terrible stuff.
And where do we find glyphosate? It's in practically everything.
I used to think that glyphosate was only on a few things like corn and wheat. And then when I really looked into it a few years ago, I couldn't believe it. It's sprayed on so many fruits and vegetables and things. And what is really disturbing about it is it robs your body of minerals.
Yep.
Obviously there's a massive cancer risk with this, and it is not just a link, it's a definitive link, because there's been cases of people who've been using glyphosate on a farm, and there's someone, can't remember his name, I think it was Dwayne, someone who's probably passed away now, but Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Went to court against Monsanto and won for this man's case that glyphosate indeed poisoned him, and he had a massive settlement. The worst part of where this is, I think, which is really insidious, glyphosate is also found in women's tampons.
Yep. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yep. So you have a look at the increase in cancers in the lady garden of women. It's so bad now. There has to be a massive link between putting that, 24/7 for 5 days every month.
Both the sanitary towels and the tampons.
Yeah.
I recently found out about that, like about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how could I have missed that? But yeah, it's so connected to a lot of the gynae problems that women have. And
it should be.
And birth defects.
Yep. If we had, and this is the thing, it's very hard for people to grasp this concept, but if we had authorities that really cared about us, they would make that illegal. They would say to the cotton farmers, you cannot use that stuff anymore. And they don't. And the difficult thing is, as I mentioned before, they regulate the industry themselves, and there's not many rules about it. It's like you have to, so they can put a chemical into the environment, and then it has to be proven unsafe by other people. And if it is proven unsafe, then they might have guidelines where you have to like minimize the amount of it or something, but it's very, very rare that they'll say, right, we need to take that off the market. So
of course,
because it's all about, it really is all about money. And you know, DDT was widely used. I mean, there's video footage that makes me want to throw up, because they used to spray DDT for it was like a pesticide that they'd use. And a lot of people think that this is what caused the symptoms of polio, which is a whole other subject. But again, the same symptoms of polio is the same symptoms of DDT poisoning. Yeah. And they used to spray it in people's homes, and there's video footage of them spraying it over children. And there was a woman called Rachel Carson who wrote a very famous book that was really ahead of its time, called Silent Spring. And she was like a proper environmentalist, because even though that movement today is so big, there is a sinister element to it, because a lot of these people are not talking about reducing chemicals. Yes, they're talking about reducing pollution, and yes, pollution is causing, you know, cancers as well. But the trillions of dollars that go into the chemical industry, that's the main problem here. This is what's killing people. This is what's causing a massive increase in childhood cancers. I mean, years ago, do you remember any children getting cancers? It would be like maybe one in my town. You'd hear of some poor little kid that had some kind of brain cancer. Now it's everywhere. And you know,
I just get so upset hearing that with children getting cancers, Anna, because by now, for years and years and years, we've been told that I'm crazy, that there is cure for cancers, just to eat well and like reduce the chemical intake. And my family and everyone have thought like, are you a doctor? You're crazy. But by now, surely, you know, all these fundraisers for cancer and breast cancer, and it's so bad and so toxic, and it's all connected to bad companies and bad institutions, and well-meaning people, good people, think they're supporting all these causes for curing cancer. Why the heck has cancer not been cured by now? And why are children getting it? We must employ this awareness of how everything's interconnected in not just our diet. People are becoming more aware of, you know, you are what you eat, but the chemicals in everything. Kenzo has been sick. Sorry to interject. The Kenzo was sick over Christmas, and Catherine Edwards has just been guiding me about like what products just to even use for pets. Like change everything, like the floor detergents that we use, right? So I use all the chemical free ones, and they're very expensive, but because, you know, dogs are always walking on the floor and, you know, they're licking their paws, etc., they are ingesting the chemicals and the toxic stuff. And then on top of that, you've got EMF and radiation.
That's right.
So we just punctured we just cornered from everywhere.
And cats and dogs, the increase in cancers and sort of strange.
Oh, Greg's come on. Hello, Greg.
They're so prevalent now as well. But what I find absolutely heartbreaking for childhood cancers is knowing what we know about chemicals, and knowing that they could have been, I'm not going to say avoided, because that's the thing I've learned. You can't avoid them. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, what you can do is take good things, mention the zeolite, that works. Scientifically, there's like over 300 studies that show it does have magnetizing and detoxing properties, and it's safe. And that's so important, because sometimes when you do take certain detoxing things, like if you were poisoned and went to the hospital and they knew that you'd had exposure to some kind of chemical, they would use something, what is called EDTA, which is a long name, can't remember the whole word, but it's a chelation therapy. It works, but alongside that, it takes out your vitamins and minerals. So with doctors that are doing that, they don't have the knowledge to then go back and put back into your body the vitamins and minerals that you need. Whereas the zeolite doesn't do that. It doesn't take stuff that it's not meant to. But yeah, with children and cancer, it just breaks my heart when you see these because people share things on Facebook about these beautiful children that have got some awful brain tumor, and then they're raising money for a treatment or talking about the chemotherapy and the radiation that they get. And when you look into that part of the industry, it is horrific and chilling. And there's so many other things that we can be doing to help these children. But again, there is a very sinister element where, I mean, there's even the Cancer Act that was written, I think it was 1926 or something in the early part of the 1900s, where it's still written into law today in the UK that you are not allowed to say anything else apart from chemo and radiation cures cancer.
Yeah.
I mean, shouldn't science be about wanting to discover new things?
Yeah.
But they don't want people to know. And this is why the subject of detoxing to the medical establishment is seen as snake oil stuff. And that if you talk about it, it's stupid, or people that mention it are quacks.
Yeah.
They get taught that our livers can do a good job and detox everything.
Yeah, that's what we're taught, right?
That might have been true back in the 1900s when they didn't really have too many chemicals in the environment. They had pollution from industrial stuff, of course, but it really began in the 1900s. And back then, I think it was 1 in 20 people developed some kind of cancer. But as time went by, you can literally graph and see it go up alongside each other.
Yep.
With the years going by and the chemical production going by and the increase in cancers. So, you know, detoxing is not a trendy thing. It's literally a life-saving thing. And I know if, like, I can't get the zeolite sent here very easily because in Costa Rica, the post, there's no Amazon Prime here. And things get lost in the mail, they get stolen. So I don't have access to a lot of my pure body that I normally have. And when I don't take it, geez, I notice a difference quite quickly, because every day we're coming into contact with thousands of chemicals. And as I said, my body is likely to have that gene mutation, the NTHFR, which means I don't detox very well. My kidneys aren't so good. So it's very easy for me to start feeling
lethargic and bad.
And lethargic, and that I'm in need of a detox. And you can tell usually also by my eyes, if they look nice and bright and shiny, then things are working. And if they start to look quite sort of, you know, yellow and not so good, then it's my liver playing up again. So
the detoxification process is never an easy thing. And when you do really embrace your health, you know, 100%, you have to be prepared for a Alzheimer's reaction, because when the body is detoxifying, you're kind of almost going into a kind of a car crash, because you're changing the chemical balance in your whole body. And when I started cutting out sugar and caffeine, so, you know, my diet was horrific back 11 years ago. It was just like 3 cups of coffee and then a croissant in the morning, a chocolate one, and just like people will be horrified at what I ate. And because I've always had a slim frame, I took it for granted. I didn't have like this issue. In fact, I used to lose weight very quickly, so I could eat whatever I wanted. But did I feel vibrant inside, internally? Absolutely not. And then when I learned about the connection with Candida, right? Candida albicans in your small intestine, and how they kind of bring, it's almost like you've got these little monsters in your small intestines, and then they start drilling spores into your and go out into the bloodstream, and that's where you get all these autoimmune conditions. You're not taught about this through the medical profession, and everything is just completely, you know, geared towards giving you a pill and antibiotics, which completely deplete the gut. Your gut, what's the word I'm looking for? But your gut.
Gut flora?
No, your gut flora, but there's this long word that I'm looking for. But anyway, it just depletes everything in all the good gut flora in your small intestines and the large. And your gut is your second brain. And so this is where you're having these issues with the brain fog and, you know, the fatigue, and all of it is connected. So like memory for me was just horrible. I was just speaking to Greg. He's there. I was complaining to him. It's like my memory goes all the time, especially when I'm doing this stuff, because there's a lot of anxiety that's connected to, talking about this stuff, the heaviness with the subjects that we speak about with the kids, fighting for justice, all of that. It just is heavy in its entirety. And then you're trying to remember all the facts, and then getting into these altercations with people. It's a cycle, but I've learned to manage that. And how I manage that is collectively. So yeah, with all the things that I take, the vitamins, the nutrition, the exercise is really important as well. Yeah.
And it's a vicious cycle with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, because usually you're too tired to exercise. So the lymph, it's not getting pushed around the body. It's very stagnant, and that doesn't help people feel well either. There's another thing I've learned over probably the last year, which was quite mind-blowing to me, and that's the very important missing link for the brain, and that is healthy fats. Even though we all kind of know that fats are good for you, a friend of mine told me about this particular blend, which is called Balance Oil by Zinzino. And it's a blend of olive oil, DHA, and a couple of other things in it. But what is special about it is the profile of the fats is like what you find in nature, because a lot of people take some kind of omega product.
Yeah.
But first of all, it goes rancid. Same with fish oil. If you have krill oil or something, they don't tell you that it's rancid. So you're taking rancid oils. But there's a man, if anyone's interested, on YouTube called Dr. Paul Clayton, and he's a brilliant doctor. He had a pharmaceutical background, but he ended up going into the nutrition side of things, and he's created this incredible product that actually comes with a test, like a blood test that you do at home. You just prick your finger, and then about a month later you get this profile of the ratio of fats that you have in your body. And it's quite shocking in that they've done over 500,000 studies with all different types of people, and quite a few of those were athletes and people that did yoga and ate a really great diet, and literally like 99% of people come back very deficient in this equal ratio of the DHA and the omegas. And what I learned through his lecture, which was really interesting. So, when women have babies, they say, oh, I can't remember anything. I've got baby brain. And it's sort of like a funny thing that women can't.
Brain.
So what happens when you're growing a baby in your body is that the third trimester, the baby needs the fats for its own brain development. So if you aren't providing enough of those for the baby, it takes the fats from your brain, so much so that it actually can shrink a mother's brain. So I was like, oh my God, it makes so much sense. But why doesn't anyone know about this? So the more children you have, and if you're not taking those right fat ratios, then your memory will just get worse. And those deficiencies are linked to Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. With kids, it's linked to ADD, ADHD. So the fats, even though it's certainly talked about in the health industry, what I learned was, as I mentioned before, if you don't take this right profile, and the magic thing about this particular blend is the olive oil that they take. 2 months, 2 months before normal growing time, they harvest the olives so that they're very, very rich in polyphenols, and that's what makes it highly bioavailable. In this particular brand, you can get like a few bottles with 2 tests. So you test yourself before, and then you test yourself 4 months later, and the results can be staggering. We've had
I have to get
that. I don't really sell it. I've got a link, but I just haven't really actively sold it because I don't have the time really, but I love mentioning it to people.
Yeah.
I did take it when I was in the UK,
I agree with having good fats is so important, because I try and eat an avocado a day. There's the good healthy fat.
And we've been, we've been told that's a good thing to do, and certainly is going to give you some benefits, but is it going to provide your brain with all the profile of what it needs? And the answer is no.
I used to use Udo's Choice, the 369 Udo's Choice. I don't know if you've heard of that.
That's a very popular one, but I would want to see with this test, if like someone to take it for 4 months and test them before and then test them afterwards and see if they show a sign of improvement. So two things amazing for the brain is the zeolite, and you've got a special offer to tell everyone about.
Do you know, when I had it the first time around, this is how technophobe I was. I put it on my channel, but a few people wrote in after, because it was only for a week, and obviously it's just introducing it. So I just put the link, and then I forgot to, it was only the last few days I was putting it on, and I put the little bottle thing on one of my shows. But again, after the chat with Eddie, I was banned on Facebook, so I couldn't even. So I mean, it's good, so that the link will be at the bottom of and the description box. So obviously it's for $5. Literally, it's saying to you, pay for the postage. If you don't like it, obviously you subscribe, and if after the 4, you don't.
It's free.
Subscription.
Sorry, lovely. It's free shipping for the UK, US, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. As Eddie says, what have you got to lose? $5 to try. And he's so sweet. I mean, I've been in touch with them for 10 years, or was it 9 years since I first took their product, and they've always been a lovely company. And as I wrote my book, I mentioned zeolite in there because I had to. It was such a big part of my journey. And then last year he said that they want to get this product out in front, like he has a goal to get it out in front of 1 million people. And yes, it is a company that makes money, but Eddie's own story is really quite touching, because his mother was very ill and she was getting worse and worse, and he was trying to help her. She went to all these doctors and they didn't know what was wrong with her. And then they took her to what was called as a quack doctor, which meant he was a holistic practitioner. And they asked her if she had breast implants, and she said yes. And then it turned out that the particular brand that she had was a company called Dow Corning, which later on was sued for millions and millions of dollars.
Oh, somebody said that I started taking zeolite, and Eddie seems a very credible, lovely bloke. Thank you, Cam. That's really nice.
Yeah, he really is. And I've never known a company to give a product away.
That's why I see in this whole thing, while we're on this journey, you're just trying to make money and all of that. Listen, we just gave you the opportunity to try it for $5. And if you don't like it after 4 weeks, that's fine. But I think a lot of people have written into me as well, the few that managed to get it the first time around and said they loved it. I've used it for 8 weeks now, and collectively, I also love it, and I thank them for sending me this, because I used to use a company called Vibrant Health, and I'm a bit funny about my greens. I love that brand, so I've been trying this. My mum's on it again, all to do with the alkalizing. So I drink this. This just came today.
Oh, I love that stuff. That's the peppermint flavored chlorophyll. That's
so if people like this, just to keep yourself, if you're starting your detox, it's great stuff. Tastes like chewing gum.
My kids love that.
Liquid chlorophyll. You can get it on any health shop, just Nature's Sunshine, or ask, just Google or DuckDuckGo.
I think you can get that on Amazon. I think I bought mine.
I mean, I'm trying to encourage people to go to the online online retailers. So I mean, you can get everything on Amazon. I'm trying to get into the habit of saying, but although I did order this on Amazon. I've also taken my vitamin D, the 4,000 you,
Nice.
I got the highest strain. So I've started this brand. If anyone, because remember, the main thing is it's collectively. So if you just get the pure body Zeolite, it's great. Remember, it's serving a particular purpose to get rid of toxins in the body, and that heavy metal toxins. So we have to like think of this psychologically, because you can't just do one thing for any kind of condition like this. And even if you haven't got anything, like, that's just great. This is a bonus. Then, as I showed you, the colloidal silver, but I'm really liking this, the super green.
It's so delicious.
So
I've got some here actually.
I love this because the other one,
like swamp water, but it is so yummy.
I take this every morning, and I've been helping my mum. My mum is the most difficult person to, encourage
Try
to
things.
try things. She had a bit of an episode with her health last week, as you know, and now she got so scared because when they found out she's completely acidic, she was so acidic that it was just, but she had to go through what she did to actually wake up. And now she's just on, like, she has that in the morning, and then she's having all her herbal iron. We're trying to get her off the thyroid tablet because they're really bad. I forgot what the thyroid tablets are called.
Thyroxine.
The thyroxine, but it's the brand Levin something. That's really, really bad. So we're just like decreasing the dose. But again, alkalizing your body is so
important.
So you must do that. So guys, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, toxins make your body acidic as well. So once you start to remove particularly the metals, then your body starts to alkalize better. But and I notice, because as I said, I've still got sort of health issues. It's like an uphill battle, and constantly trying to do things to help. But for years I didn't have long healthy nails, and I knew that was because my gut wasn't absorbing things very well. But as soon as I started drinking this after a month, I knew it was
lovely. It tastes really nice. I didn't like there's another brand that I used to use, and I think it was because it was a chocolate flavor. That was disgusting. But I just love oat milk, put a date in there. Dates are really good for you.
Nice. I usually put frozen banana, but I'll try a date.
Date is nice. You see, I can't have anything frozen. I need it room temperature. Again, with thyroid issues, I mean, I think there could be a connection to thyroid and fibromyalgia, but I'm
definitely
it's all part of the adrenal system. Everything's connected to the pancreas, the spleen, all of it. It's just interconnected. So we've got to look at it. I keep wanting to drum it in that it's a holistic approach for your health. What was I saying? So look, this is what happens. I lose my train of thought. Dates. I put banana in a pear, and then I put some chia seeds in chia seeds, and then I use organic oat milk. So I went on almond milk, but when I started drinking oat milk, it's so much more tastier. So I put in my smoothies, but the date makes it taste lovely. Some of the greens. So this is why I like this one, because it's sweet. It tastes nice, but it doesn't have like any kind of sugar in it, and any stevia as well. I don't like the taste of stevia. It just makes it quite chemically.
Eddie's worked with some really amazing people to formulate.
This is, by the way, Touchstone as well. You can get this through them, but this is brilliant. This one and that.
And one more thing about Eddie as a person. So I also, one other thing I do is I highlight the dangers around breast implants, and I've got a Facebook group with over 10,000 women in them, and they're really sick women, really, really mentally unwell, and have terrible autoimmune conditions.
I'll put that on my description book so people can join that if they have.
Thank you. Yeah, it's called breast implant illness, the ticking time bomb, but I'll send you a link. And this was a few years ago when I was quite active in the group. I told Eddie, because I didn't know, it took me a few years to find out how and why did he start his company. And when I heard the story about his mother, that she ended up, when it became obvious that she was basically being poisoned from her implants, of course she got them removed, but she was given this EDTA stuff, the chelation therapy in hospital, and it was really bad for her, and it was really tough and hard going. So he he was like, there must be some other way to detox people that doesn't, you know, hurt them. So this was his way of getting into zeolite and learning more about it and then starting a company. And he's genuinely very passionate about.
Yeah, he is very passionate.
But when I had my group, I said to him, because what's really tragic is these women are so debilitated by sickness because implants have nothing natural in them. They're all, every single ingredient is toxic and should not be in the body. He offered to send some people free product. So he gave 5 women, I think it was 4 products, and he didn't want any money from them. He just wanted to help them. And yeah, that's just him in a nutshell, where he's just and beyond to help people. And all of the staff that work for him have been there since it started 9 years ago. So yeah, love him a lot. And
it's a great company, and I'm so grateful to Mark Atwood, who, you know, recommended this to me, and you know, I've started using it. And again, it's interesting how the universe brings you to what you're meant to be doing in purpose. So when I look at this whole journey, this health journey started 10 years ago, the spiritual awakening around the same time. And then it was the awakening to what's going on our planet intricately, you know, with the whole thing with children. It was like, boom, this is like, like being designed that way in my script. And I feel passionate about it because I was in the mortgage industry just a few weeks ago, and I've given all of that up. Yeah, and I lost a couple of contracts of work, the other bits and pieces that I was doing as a result of the things that I talk about, and that's okay. And because I think they weren't working for me, it was just, there was a lot of resistance in those industries, and I wasn't aligned to them anymore. And such a huge shift in humanity now, and we need to kind of really listen to ourselves, our bodies. We've suffered a lot. Humanity has suffered a lot. We've been attacked in absolutely everything. So everything from what we eat, what we wear, to how, you know, what we're forced to think, and, you know, we are our own people. So now it's awareness is key. And I think that every crisis has a blessing. Every crisis. So if we, you know, reframe what's happened to us in the last year with this boogeyman virus, and look at it positively in what it's taught us in everything, and how we are as individuals, what we're doing, how we're waking up. We're all waking up at our own pace, but most importantly, we're wanting to make that change. And of course, it starts with the mind and your health, your physical health, your mental health, what you consume, with the people that you speak to, everything. So yeah, Anna, this has been brilliant. We've actually gone on for an hour and a half. It was
no, and I could keep going.
I know we could, but I want to, and everybody that's stayed on, just want to sort of shout out to a few people. Let's see what they're saying. I mean, Rodgers saying he wants a body like David Nino. Good luck.
Is he the boxer?
Yes, he is. There was quite a lot of questions earlier on, but I think there's just a lovely conversation. I love this group. There's just so many nice things. Everyone's talking and helping each other with recommendations. It's brilliant. And my brother from another mother, Greg, is always there. I love him. I've met this guy called Greg on the battlefield on Facebook, and we've become really, really good friends. And he's actually writes about this in his blogs about, you know, he's really interested in this alternative therapies and, you know, CBD. I know that,
we were supposed to talk about that, weren't we?
Yeah, you know, I've tried the Touchstone CBD. I use actually a higher dose from a local person that gets it. So it's 2,000. I found
wow, that's nice.
It's huge, but for me, because I'm my pain. So the one with Touchstone, I think it might help some people, but for me, it didn't really help because I'm used to the higher strength. So I mean, I think he's looking to make me one up to 10,000.
Oh wow, amazing. Yep.
Of course, it doesn't have the THC, which gives you that stoned like feeling, but
there's something else that we could maybe talk about and I could also get you to interview a lady called Kerry Rivera, who has been through hell in the last few years because she's been banned off Facebook. She is a woman that has helped cure over 1,000 children with autism. And she uses something called chlorine dioxide.
Oh, let's get her. I think everyone, what do you think about that?
We'll be shadow banned for that, but that's
yeah. We'll word it cleverly. We'll do symbols.
Amazing stuff. So I'll send you some info on it, because it's actually a natural substance. You have to mix them together to activate it. It's basically a master oxidizer in the body, and I've seen what it does under a microscope to red blood cells, and it is amazing. Where the red blood cells in someone that's not very healthy will be all stuck together and clumpy, and they don't look plump, and then the chlorine dioxide washes through the blood cells and they become really plump. They start to separate.
Boost the red blood cells.
Yep. It just
is it stronger than chlorophyll?
It works very differently to that. Right. It's something that is incredibly powerful. It works to reduce and kill viruses, pathogens, and bacteria. And it's amazing stuff. I have heard about it for the last 10 years, but it wasn't until the scandemic broke out last year that I actually tried it, because in the beginning, I was really paranoid, because I thought this has been made in a lab and it's a weapon. And I was really, really freaked out. So I bought everything I could to have at home in case I needed it. So this chlorine dioxide was something that I bought, and I did research, ended up making a mini documentary about it. Wow. Yeah, it's extraordinary stuff.
Maybe we can talk about that in the
another time. Yeah. It's literally, it's something everyone needs to have in their homes. And if you were to Google it, it would tell you that it's dangerous, that it kills people, that it's toxic. It is all based on lies. It's one of the biggest threats to the pharmaceutical industry, because the cures that it is doing for so many health conditions. And I actually think with your fibromyalgia, this would be really good for you to try.
Yeah, and also just on a final note, even bicarbonate of soda, like look at the miracles of that.
Alkalizes.
Wash your vegetables with that soak. It helps to get rid of some of the chemicals at surface level, but I don't know how true that is. But I've read that washing soaking all your vegetables in bicarbonate of soda, if you haven't bought organic, helps to sort of reduce the chemical impact on them. So this sounds great. I think we will definitely need another session, because we could go on forever and ever, and health and wellness is so important, especially with conditions like autoimmune conditions or fibromyalgia, thyroid, feeling unwell and tired and lethargic. And especially one of my greatest difficulties, and that I have found, is the memory and the brain fog. So that is that wellness that you want to feel like, centered in your thought. And then I'm speaking on these shows and I just go off on a tangent.
I'll send you the link to check out Paul Clayton, because once you watch that, it's only like half an hour. You just go, oh my God, it makes so much sense that we're just not giving the brain enough fats, and that they're so important. They're so neuroprotective, and actually changes the way people think. You know, heavy metals are so toxic to the brain, and we've got to keep them out, because look at Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. It's increasing every year, and I don't think that.
Yeah, we need to look at those stats. We need to address this. Like Alzheimer's and dementia is just, so insane, the stats for that. But well, look, if anyone wants to take advantage of that offer, it is in the link below. So, and share this. Obviously, this is a live, but the video will remain on my page, my channel. But Anna, thank you so much, and we'll talk about this other product this other mineral that you mentioned.
I'll send you a couple of things to watch. It's actually being used very widely in some countries like Bolivia, Ecuador, to treat COVID, and it's got a 96% survival rate, and it's cheap as chips. So that's the reason why it's not being allowed to be used, and that if you talk about it, you get called a quack. The trolls to do with this,
the shills
are the worst I've ever encountered. What the ones for the
I know. Well, I mean, you just have to employ being a bit thick-skinned to all of this, because it is what it is. I got called the thickest person on the planet because I called Earth the planet.
what?
I know. It's so funny. These things this just make me laugh.
Oh my God.
I know. But look, it's all good.
Protecting.
So if anyone's interested in the Zeolite, the offer is there, and it's only on till Sunday. Otherwise, it goes back to its $69 or $70.
Yeah, full price if you're just a customer is $79.95. But if you
Wow,
do,
so you're getting it for $5. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such an amazing deal because it's pretty much free. But if you do stay on it, I think it works out to be about, if you're in the UK, about £46 a month. But you know, it's worth it. And if you really can't afford that one, there's a different one, the drops, that's also called Pure Body. It's the original formula. It's the one that helped me massively. And that's a lot cheaper. It's about, I think, £35 or maybe even less than that. But that one is very good at cleaning the gut. So ideally it's good to use both. But if you can't afford both and you can't afford the spray, then you have another option that is still amazing, because think about all the foods that we eat that have got pesticides in them and the glyphosate, and you know, that's why people have massive gut issues, is because the in there.
All of that, and the greens, that's really, really good. Well, look, Anna, thank you so much, and we'll do something soon. And if people could just write some comments in the comment section about, you know, other topics that you'd like to cover with Anna, that would be great. Otherwise, thank you so much, darling. It's been
Thank you, my lovely. I adore talking to you. So anytime.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for coming on here. I really appreciate everyone. So yeah, I'm never always, I get funny about doing all these lives, but it was great. It was fine.
I think it's easier when you have someone there with you. It's when you're talking on your own that just feels
it just feels a bit weird. That's why I don't do them on my own. Greg's really good at doing that. All right, everyone.